We're good.
Welcome into the Korp Podcast. I'm Korp.
I'm Dean.
And today we're going to talk a little prehistory. You might have missed our last episode.
Yeah, we got about like 4 minutes of upload or something like that because, the internet crapped out 5 minutes into the podcast, I guess. And we recorded for an hour. And it was kind of a bummer. We didn't even really talk much about it for the week. We'd started getting really enthusiastic about the cast. And we still are. Yeah. Super into it.
But it was a letdown. So it's a secret podcast that we'll see. We'll keep archived.
Yeah, we'll keep it there as a funny little thing, but
a reminder not to do it again.
Yeah, we'll check the internet a little more often. But yeah, we're gonna give a chat about prehistory today. But I know before we wanted to jump into the serious stuff,
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Like, what movie are you looking forward to seeing at a theater soon?
Honestly, so I was saving this card for when we go outside because you asked me. I don't know anything about any movies coming out.
Okay.
I literally have fallen so behind in that game, and I don't know why. I just stopped. When I stopped working next to Bahama Breeze and stopped seeing next to a movie theater every day, I used to go all the time, and now I just don't anymore.
Before shift.
Yeah. I used to go out on the weekends.
Yeah. I want to see Black Widow because it'll be the first time I get to take my son.
Oh, awesome. To the theater.
Yeah, so he's seen all the movies so far to this
point.
So he's super into it. He could probably tell you more than you could about certain. No, it's this movie, or no, it's Thor that does that. And it's cool to see that. But it's oh man, we are excited because there's this gap after Endgame where he's I want to see the next movie. There isn't. There's not one right now.
So is Black Widow? This is set in the after, right?
It'll be.
It's not a pre-continuity.
No, it's pre for sure.
Oh, it is pre.
Okay, it's bet 100%. But there's stuff coming out on Disney Plus that's going to be,
new to the continuity.
Yeah,
and after
Falcon, Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Okay.
Loki.
After what happened, right?
Yeah, and there's a couple.
So when did that movie come out? 3 years ago now.
I don't know. Don't ask me that.
Sorry. I'm
not good at that. But yeah, so. I don't know. I guess I feel like there's a lot of streaming been done over the last few weeks, months rather. And I'm getting into football season. I'm looking forward to Sunday.
Yeah, there you go.
My fantasy teams, and I'm in a lot of big money leagues. So
nice.
At least big
good
money
luck
for me.
Yeah, no. Hey, good luck, man. If you're putting any money on them.
Yeah, we had our drafts and everything. So it was fun. Get to see some guys I don't normally see. And
cool. Had a good week.
Yeah, we definitely had several people Zoom for
the draft.
Yeah, it was a bummer because I had to stick other people's, and it was but it is what it is. It makes the draft go. The group of us that were there were all buds, so it was cool,
They're getting auto draft. Oh, so wait,
they would just be on a Zoom call and they'd be say their name, so I have to go up and put it on the sticker because we have the big board.
Now I
but because we're doing it live, it's not electronic at all.
Gotcha.
We get a draft kit mailed to us.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cool though.
It's each. It's probably maybe a foot sticker.
Okay. That's sweet. And big old whiteboard in the back.
Yeah, different colors, probably.
Oh, it's literally in that show, The League. Yeah. I've never done it in a live, draft. I've always done the ESPN drafts. That's pretty cool though.
Yeah, well, I like getting together with guys and having a good time. I don't get to see the camaraderie anymore.
Yeah,
really.
Well, everyone gets older. It's hard to get the groups
you
together.
Get older and you just hang out with individuals.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 of you get together as a group, but
you don't get too rowdy sometimes.
Maybe even golfing, you go foursome.
Yeah.
But outside of softball or something that was encourages large gatherings, it's more one-on-one. The older I've gotten, before.
That's true. That's true.
There's always groups. Always people have the same schedule.
Yeah.
When we school work.
Yeah, that's true.
Either do you work tonight? No. Okay, we're off. So.
But yeah, so let's get into a little of this prehistory then, man.
Yeah, there's a lot to kind of dive deep into when we're talking prehistory. I think we should start at what we mean by prehistory.
Yeah, that's always good. And what if you've heard about prehistory, then you might know. But what we think of when we think of prehistory is anything that predates the dawn of civilization as we know it. So that'd be ancient Sumerian culture, 6,000 BC, or is it 4,000 BC? It's either 6,000 years ago. See, all right, then we'll start off by saying not an expert. I'm not going to know exact dates.
No, we don't know dates.
We don't know any of that.
Speculation. Just kind of being fun with the topic.
Yep, just having a good time with the topic. For me personally, I've been interested as shit in Graham Hancock's work. Graham Hancock is a journalist. In the 90s, he started writing a book about a culture that he thinks he might have picked up on, or like a lot of evidence at that time really started to point to something that happened in ancient antiquity.
And if nothing else, what he's pointing at is the way that the archaeologists, I believe, saw it wasn't necessarily the correct way. That was one view of how it could have happened.
Right.
And not necessarily, well, the geologists say this, or the other scientists say this.
But those studies almost didn't exist back then either. Like geology was like, okay, you knew what a lot of rocks were, but you just still didn't know how to date anything.
Yeah.
You didn't really, like that was a really a big revolution in the 90s with scientific revolution. Same thing within the early 2000s all the way up to where we are now, and like science is just advancing, and they're able to detect more and more, and they're able to see smaller and smaller things. So like, how can you ignore what science says? Like, we believe in science is like pretty, I mean, for the most part, I think 2 + 2 rings universally true. Science is usually just an extension of math and physics, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you believe the science when you hear things like why the pyramids are like perfectly square, but like out of north alignment by 1 degree, which seems like an accident? They're built of like 7 or 8 different kinds of stones. Each of these stones weigh a shit ton, some of them in upwards of 200,000 tons. Or I'm sorry, not 200,000 tons, 200 tons, 150 tons, 100-ton stones. And 100 tons is what? 2 million pounds?
Yeah, so that's
something in that range. Or like, I might be off by an order of magnitude.
For what the tools they're saying that they had then.
Yeah.
Like it's like almost impossible tasks.
Yeah, right? You're talking about cutting like granite and basalt with like copper tubes and pipes.
With the prehistory is saying that those things were built at a different time and lasted until the cultures we know that like
discovered them.
Yeah,
like to say that the ancient Egyptians, like pre-dynastic Egyptians, were the ones that discovered the pyramids.
Yeah, like any culture, like if the Vikings come over to Christian land and they hang like whatever they hang. Yeah, their Viking.
You're gonna decorate it. You make
the Christian culture.
Yeah. We just found this whole city to live in.
Yeah,
sweet. Now we don't have to build the city. Like let's hang out in the city. Let's repopulate it.
Our most important people.
Yeah. Here, well, something funny about the tombs. They assumed that the Great Pyramids of Giza were raided, and that's why they've never found a mummy inside of them. But there's no burial chamber. There's nothing that resembles what we know of a traditional Egyptian burial chamber. Yeah. They call them the king's room and the queen's room, but they're like really just like big empty rooms with like no hieroglyphics on the inside.
I did a huge project on this in the 5th grade.
Yeah.
And like you're telling me the opposite of what they taught me out of the book.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, like there was no mummies ever found there.
I mean, they just didn't know then, and they tried to teach people, educate people as best they could at the times. But if you're not changing your education and how you're
education
literally
changes
what you're teaching them, because you have to teach them what's right, not what's printed.
Yeah, but teaching what's printed has more economic value, because like you got to remember, universities have been handing out degrees, PhDs in archaeology.
But it doesn't mean like those people haven't earned those degrees. They earned it in that year.
Yeah.
And if you just
those are the people who get those degrees, are the people who, like us, look to those people. Man, I met an archaeologist with a PhD today. He told me all this shit about the pyramids. He must be right. Yeah. He's got a PhD, spent 8, 9, 10 years studying this, wrote a thesis on it. He should be an expert in it.
Yeah.
But if he was taught by somebody who was taught by somebody who was taught by somebody who was just like got paid money to write a story about this thing, and was like, dude, we got to print something. You tell me it's 1810 and we sent you with all this king's money and gold to go research this place, and you didn't come back with anything.
Well, I think Hollywood took that idea as a 5th grader, what we saw in those textbooks, and someone made a movie about it.
And then it's like ingrains these weird staples in your mind of like how you think the culture works.
100%.
Like.
I just always think right now this is a great time for history stuff.
Yeah.
If you know, like history, like as we're seeing different types of genres on Netflix and these types of shows that are coming out, like we're seeing these history type things that like I think it's a cool time to like see it, because people are interested in these like people like Marco Polo.
Okay.
Like, you can build a story around this guy. Like, who's another famous guy? We're going to do a story about him. Yeah. And they're just trying everybody.
Like, like Ragnar Lothbrok, and then like what they did. That was Genghis Khan, not Genghis Khan. That was Kublai Khan.
Yeah,
Kublai Khan and Marco Polo were just like met up. That was a cool one.
Yeah, so they can do all these different things. History, because like history, like who owns the
Yeah, nobody owns history. That's how they have like, what is it?
I kind of want to see like a legit like Christopher Columbus type thing.
That'd be cool. You can just watch him killing all these Native Americans. Just like he just goes to South America and he's just slaying out.
Story,
yeah, like how he really did it. Like where like he just destroyed.
You'd have to make it
compelling
to watch. So like, you'd have to do like you couldn't just be about the slaughter, but like it could be. You know, what I'm saying? Like, you got to make sure it's a good taste. You want to make sure like.
Just reveal this man for what he was. After you get more into prehistory, you'll have such a sour taste in your mouth for the 1600 Spanish. Like if I could go back and stop any one thing from happening, the things that the Spanish did, the way we destroyed, like the things that Manifest Destiny did, the way we took over Americas in general, like as Westerners coming, when I guess we weren't even Westerners then, as Europeans and coming over to the New World. Just roasted the whole thing. Yeah. Like we took cultures of people, the entirety of all the people that lived in the Amazon, North America, just genocided all of them in over 400 years.
So like the combustion and the engines and the things that produce fuel or use fuel is just a way of living. Cool. Yeah. Like this is how we operate. And like could there have been something prior? So like we say like, oh, there would be fuel emissions maybe still in the air. There'd be some kind of science we could point to from 12,000 years ago, if I'm saying that. 12,000.
So it's like the time of antiquity we'll refer to a lot too would be like something happened in the world about 12,800 to 12,300 years ago. I think we went a little off. We definitely veered for a minute. We for sure veered.
Definitely.
But to go back to the first thing that definitely almost always veer off topic. But to go back to what we mean when we say prehistory is like all the stuff that predates Sumeria, and then apparently what Graham Hancock points to is something happened about 12,800 years ago, like a massive catastrophe that wiped like a global cataclysm, like species destroying 99% of the megafauna in like North America disappears overnight, great flooding. So you got like all the biblical stories and all
like megafauna, what are you speaking to?
So like megafauna is from what I understand of the word megafauna, because it's used all the time by them, is like all of the like mammals, all the plant animals, like all of these like trees and different like species of anything living was destroyed.
So what we're saying is at some point there was a civilization in North America.
Essentially.
Maybe South America.
That'd be my argument, yeah.
Okay. And then so this maybe they're really advanced. Yeah. Maybe they are, maybe they're not.
So as far as I would go to say is seafaring.
Yeah.
Could map the world,
but the map was also map of the world was slightly different because there wasn't so much water yet.
Right. So there was the entire you got to picture the South Pole is Antarctica, or is that I sound like a fucking idiot right now. Anyways, the South Pole, yeah, right, definitely the weed. So the South Pole is completely green. It's livable. But the North Pole has a massive ice sheet that spreads all the way to as low as Ohio. Right? So like that's called the driest ice age, right? Or like that's the ice age, dude, man, I'm fucking lit right
So now. When that happened, so when the meteor comes down, hits there, it's so big it has an impact on the entire earth. And different stories come from that, whether it be, like the Noah's Ark story where like maybe there's different renditions in different areas, but similar, like get people on a boat, save the day. We need to survive.
There's a lot of Native American cultures that have like the sky was on fire, like the sky burned because the gods were pissed off at the world that was going on. That's the same thing with Noah's flood. God smited everybody for living poor lives, and he didn't like that culture at the time. So in some parts of the world they got great flooding, in other parts of the world the sky was on fire, in other parts of the world it was like thunderstorms and like entire, like if you think about Easter Island as the top of a mountain, you could argue a lot of Easter Island was just sunk underwater, and that's just the tip of the tippity top. Right. That's how all that stuff got there.
And so like
the Pacific Rim flooded.
Yeah, and so when that happened, we lost a lot of technology that could have been. I mean, like it got wiped out.
Yeah, I mean, if that happened to us right now, all of our plastic sheets, all this wood around us, everything gets just reclaimed by the earth.
Yeah,
the earth sucks it all back in and then recycles it, and in 5,000 years, the plastic and the screens and the glass,
maybe some of the water settles in different areas. You got better land.
It's not existent
out in certain areas.
Yeah,
And now we have, the America that we know in history from that point on. Yeah. Humans survive. The humans survive. Now they start growing, populating. Now the groups kind of start migrating.
Yeah.
And eventually.
And they share these stories. Yeah. They share stories from like great antiquity that like, there's similar, like all of the world, like it's something like 160 different cultures all around the world share something in reverence to a catastrophe as their creation story.
Yeah.
And like, that's not a coincidence by any means, like for that many world cultures to share that kind of story.
And I don't know what type of scientists I've heard this from, but like just there's been 4 different types of catastrophes in the Earth's history.
Yeah, like 4. Well, yeah. But that number is increasing more and more.
Well, we gotta find
small sidebar. There's sorry.
I was gonna say I think one of the things too is to get it like found out for sure, or like to get confirmed by the science societies, finding the actual where the meteor hit.
Yeah.
And having evidence there.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do because what if it was underwater now?
Right.
I mean,
like, the landscape of the world changes over and over.
In the water, people are still looking at ships, and they're not necessarily, whereas I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not on that, so I can't speak to it really. I don't know what they're doing, but
hopefully. Well, I know that there's the Younger Dryas Comet Impact Theory group.
Right.
And those are the guys who are looking at the catastrophe that could have happened 12,800 years ago to cause like an entire civilization. What you could think of as Atlantis. I think of it as the culture of Atlantis. I think there's some reason why Atlantis rings true as this lost culture talked to about by I think Socrates or Plato, or an even farther back Greek philosopher than that, who wrote about, or was it Aristotle? One of the 3. They wrote about Atlantis and said that Atlantis was destroyed 9,000 lunar cycles before me, or 9,000 solar cycles, but like that'd be 9,000 years before he was even alive, which at that time it was like 2000 BC.
No, that's just something that like he wrote that because he was passed down this book from
he studied with the Egyptians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
He studied with and that's when the Egyptians were like the high culture. The one thing that's never made sense about Egyptian culture, man, is that it went from high culture to low culture. Why would you lose? What happened to all of your knowledge? What happened to all of your information? Why did your first pyramids look really good? The best the world's ever seen, stand the most true in the longest testament, like the most perfectly built, lined up to the stars of Orion, like great symmetry. And then the rest of them just kind of like don't ever look anything like that again. That doesn't make any sense. Like you start going backwards, that's the earliest part of their culture.
Look at in the human culture, we're led by other humans.
Yeah.
Sometimes to be like an artist or that type of thinker, architect.
Yeah.
Like that one person's in charge, and when he has the mind and the engineering process to help with it, and he gets it down, and that person passes away.
I don't think one person could ever be in charge of building something like the pyramids.
No, you're probably right. It has a team of people, but at some point, like,
but that knowledge only gets passed on and gets bigger. That's exactly how our technology flows. You can't even argue that, because the technology flows linearly. Like we went from the horse to helicopters, cars, airplanes in 5 fucking generations, dog. Like the amount of technology. How small has our phone gotten since 6th, 7th grade? Well, it got kind of bigger and then smaller again and then bigger again. But like the technology that it does, we got a time in the 90s. That thing is a supercomputer, man. Yeah, like you got an iPhone, that thing's a fucking supercomputer. That was in our lifetime. And that's just 30 years from now, So I think. Sorry, I got distracted.
No, but if you were the technology, but like, so if we go back to the prehistory, so if we go back before the meteor happens,
okay,
and so like. That's, I think, where I'm talking prehistory. This is kind of like the civilizations that could have been.
Yeah.
Like, that's intriguing to me because I think if you certain alien type stories, certain ancient aliens or other types that like even, where we look back at gods and stuff where it comes from, I think a lot of that stems from this culture.
Yeah.
And like if North America was the pinnacle of this culture, they were the seafaring folk. They're the reason we have the maps that we had prior to knowing the longitude and latitude. Like if this was that culture, I think there's a lot of cool stuff. And then imagine getting it wiped out, and then we find these cool things, like they knew how to use gravity a certain way, or something with science that we just haven't gone down that path because we use fuel, or we have solved this problem already. There's a huge industry of cars. Yeah. So why would we find a different way of transportation?
Right, exactly.
So we just use fuel with planes, with everything, because that's just the way we do things right now.
Right. Well, like I think they tapped into something way more natural in the world, and we took a more destructive route. We extracted something unnatural out of natural things, and we turned things into another thing. I think they used
the
world to their advantage. Is why everything's made in
I also
stone.
drive a car.
Yeah.
And
right.
And fly on planes, and I do, and I will, because I'm part of society. And
I mean that's just the conclusions we reached in the early 1900s. The industrial era was just different for us. But like when it comes to the prehistory, I don't know how I feel about like, because I know outside you had asked me about like the alien thing. Like, so I was thinking about that. Like, okay, so Justin had brought up the idea that like if you read anything into Bob Lazar and you kind of know about the Area 51 stuff and you know a little bit about aliens, like how like what he talks about, a lot of it is like he was a jet propulsion guy. He's the guy that cracked Area 51 because they brought him in unvetted. They needed somebody who was amazing with propulsion to look at this craft that they didn't understand and try to back engineer it. That's Bob Lazar's story, that he was hired by the government to back engineer an alien spacecraft. And when you say alien, Justin was like, okay, it could be alien from outer space, or they could have found something of prehistory in ancient antiquity and discovered it in like the desert. And that's why they built stuff around in the desert in Area 51. And like, I like the idea. I just like, all right, so where Bob Lazar gets me, and then like what you'll watch with Commander Fravor and modern aliens versus the stories of like what could have happened in prehistory. The only reason I can see them not linking up, and they could though, because like this is all theory and speculation at this point, right? Prehistory might be proven true in the fact that we realize that there's a culture of ancient antiquity. Whether it had anything to do with aliens or not is definitely always going to be a whole nother thing. But I think the stuff that we're seeing now with like jet propulsion, or like with like our modern aliens, like that they're catching on camera, like the thimble and like the pill capsule and like all these different things that the United States government has released to the public. Like, have you seen any of those videos at all?
I mean, I've seen a little bit of them. I watched a couple of them without.
It's like the Air Force. It's like the Air Force or the Navy, like honing in on this thing that
very
moves.
easily them testing the waters on what aliens are. Like,
So
how does the public react to this information? Can we share stuff down the road, even if it's just a test and it doesn't mean anything? It's just like them using the test propulsion system that they found.
Right.
And like it's them doing it. They're saying this is us.
So I feel like
no, this is us.
I
have to watch it to speak to it exactly, because it's unfair for me not to like see it for myself. But I think I know what we're talking about. Seeing it where it's like dropping and it's moving around and they're barely keeping sensors up on it, and they're like, and then the thing just fucking whizzes off at a zillion miles an hour and it's like gone. And like the ability to bend space-time like that and gravity to move without propulsion, because there's no heat coming off of this thing. That's the thing that freaks them out. It's just like fucking regular room temp spacecraft moving at a jillion miles an hour in and water out of what it's up. So like what's it using for
fuel? For fuel? What's it using for propulsion? What's it doing? Because to move like that, you'd have to bend space-time. Like we have the physics that support the ability to do it, but we don't have the technology to support the physics, right? That's one of the biggest stopgaps with physics right now, that I know of in my, small brain that doesn't understand physics. The reason why they come up with like quantum theory and all this crazy shit, this cool math, and like maybe this could happen if this happened and this happened. We just don't have the math. We don't have the technological advance to support.
I feel like it's dangerous as well. You're gonna put the Earth and it's gonna shrink engine.
But that's me. But
gravity. Fucking with gravity, our atmosphere is amazing and beautiful. We have like one of these like great, like it's got like 4 different layers of protection.
Yeah,
it like shreds meteors as it falls through it. Like it's like let's not like mess with gravity and the atmosphere and everything.
I guess that is like, a trip too, right?
Like, I didn't even think about that. Where the moon is to the ratio of us, like it's not pulling any closer.
But I just don't think that a culture that mastered gravity in that way, like I think the modern alien phenomena, I don't think there's ancient aliens. I don't know other easy way to say that. Like for that culture to be able to have that kind of technology would be incredible, because they would have been able to shatter any comet that was coming at the Earth, because they would have seen it from a mile away. Because they can bend space-time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like what I think of when I think of the culture of ancient antiquity in my sense is that they were a really great seafaring culture who figured out some sort of way to use stone as almost like a polymer, right? So they were able to like imagine 3D printing granite, and then you can print it to the exact size and measurement you want it and lock them in fucking airtight, because you have the ability to quarry stone like that into these exact specific things, like the pyramids of Giza, or like Teotihuacan, or like, you know, Chichen Itza,
so, like,
and all these places.
Could they like melt it down and like pour it in?
So that's what I'm saying, like almost like cement, like something like that, something in that form where like the earth
have like a shield around it where it's gonna stay,
and then it sets, and then you let it off,
like,
boom,
take it up,
done. They figured out a different way to do it. I just think they figured out a whole different way to work with the earth and use their natural surroundings, because like as far as an energy source goes, when you start looking at like Abu Sir was a crazy one. Like Uncharted X, he goes there and he looks at the precision in some of the works there, and it's like you couldn't cut that without like lasers, dude. Like how?
Well, maybe that like the dude was just like the best of his time. He's like the best of all time.
But one dude in our time who's the best of all time says, like, he talks to, I ask a stonemason, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He, like, you take our best stonemason in the world, the guy who's most revered, and go, how would you do this? And they go, oh, fucking no. Like, you know, like you would need this tool, this tool, this tool, this tool. And then they sit there a little stumped. Now, I'm saying all that, and I can't quote anywhere that I've read that, but that seems to be consensus with a lot of the construction techniques.
Okay.
Because Uncharted X looks at construction techniques and precision techniques. And he goes, that's the next one I want to get you on after you're done with the Joe Rogan shit.
Yeah.
That guy goes around and looks at like all these ancient sites.
What's it called again?
Uncharted X.
I meant to text you the other day about it.
Yeah,
I just was like, well, I got other stuff I'm going on. Like, football was on, and I was like, I'm
no
good.
worries.
So,
but yeah, Uncharted X, man, he really looks at the precision involved in building these things. And like siding is like a pinhole, and I can kind of see how to use a measuring tape a little bit, and I can see how tools that are accessible at like, you know, a modern economic level. Like, I don't know, man. Like sometimes when you're cutting stone like that, there's nothing that cuts stone like that at all that exists. Like, you know what I mean? Like these guys are nuts, and it does exist for us. That's what I'm saying. Sorry, it does exist for us, but it could not exist back then if technology flows linearly. Like they didn't have power saws.
Well, no,
they didn't have like, you know.
Yeah, but like they didn't have electricity. But was there a way for them to have a battery of any type of source? I'm afraid that there's something in the blood stuff, because there's a lot of that blood ritual stuff, man.
Oh yeah, I think that's a thing born of savagery.
Yeah,
I think that's so. like
that's like one of the human traits that we have for like no reason, that we just like.
I mean,
we're all over, man.
We're lower. We're like, you know, humans are fucking silly, bro.
Yeah,
like honestly,
we hang out with rats and like killing each other, right?
Yeah, we really do. Really enjoy killing each other. Like humans, like sad. Just live for it. And throughout history, you know,
man,
all for resources.
Resources are just
greed,
revenge. Revenge is always a savage move.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it's just power.
Well, like sometimes it's like you feel threatened.
Yeah.
And you have to like protect your family, whether it's like these guys keep, you know, coming over and screwing us over while we're farming.
Yeah, raiders.
Yeah, so it's like now we're gonna get together. Let's a group of us or pay somebody to go.
Yeah.
Clip these dudes.
Shit, that was a bad fight, man. Let's train a little bit. Let's train. Let's like wake up at 5 a.m. Let's get like, you know, we'll take all the young kids in the village. We'll train them too. And we'll have like a squad of us. We'll be bad motherfuckers, man.
Like we blow the horn.
Yeah.
That means come running towards the horn.
And then that turns into like, well, those guys are like some of the best fighters ever.
So
they've been training like that for 20 generations. Yeah. And now their army is just ill as fuck. And
you got all their families.
Got the Spartans, man. That's exactly, you know, like it happens by accident, I feel like.
Yeah.
It happens, like you said, like a means, like to protect yourself, to keep people, you know, keep yourself strong. You understand that if you lift all these weights every day and go on a run in every morning, you get jacked. You're probably going to win in a fight.
Well, like imagine being at a time of like no technology. Any Roman time with the army, you know, Britain, Ireland. There's times of war, so like I mean, like you could be in a battle at any point probably for your country.
I feel like you just walking down the road sometimes and just getting a fucking sword fight.
Yeah, like I feel like it's.
But that's definitely from the movies. Yeah, that's definitely some movie shit.
Like, you could murder somebody. You could like think
never
about like
caught.
Like remember in the 90s when like people were just getting caught murdering people because they had DNA testing.
Yeah,
and people were just like busted. Like
you're
done. Like we have this new way of testing your stuff. You were there.
Yeah.
And, like now but prior to this DNA testing, like everyone just like now it's like, oh, did you get DNA tested? You know.
Yeah.
Like prior, it's like
feel like CSI blew up DNA testing.
Just the technology. It's so cool thinking back to the prehistory and thinking what could they have had, because they had so mmany. How many generations could have been potential? How far along in theirs could they have been if they went down a different path of like how to farm Earth to get around to feed themselves.
I would imagine they ate similarly to us, but maybe totally different. I guess
so like imagine it exactly like us.
Yeah.
It happens the exact same way, right? They get to today.
Yeah.
In the amount of time we've been here as humans, meteor hits. Does all that wash away? Does that become? Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah, sorry.
Does that make? Is that enough time for that all to just dissolve into the Earth again?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
So if it was exactly like it is now, so that makes
sense. Yeah. You're talking like reset to nothing. Land reclaimed everything, re-ate it all.
How long would it take
grinded
for that
it up?
to happen?
Only a couple thousand years.
And how long were the humans off the?
Like in a big way, how long were they out?
Yeah.
Okay, so 12,800 to 11,600 years. Humans did it. That's BC. So you're talking 9,000 BC would be roughly the area.
Right.
So that would be 10,000, 9,000 BC. Sumeria is like mid 6,000. So 4,000 years. Hunter-gatherers.
Okay.
4,000 years is hunter-gatherers.
And so
that's definitely enough time for the world, because that's when the Sahara was still a rainforest.
Yeah.
That's enough time for the world to change. World's over. And that's why the only things that get left are what? The earth, right?
Yeah.
Like the material things aren't left behind, but the earth is left behind. That's why these structures are left behind. Like these crazy rock structures, man. Like I'm obsessed with it. The architecture is obsessive.
Now, is there any way that these structures were meant for protection during the times of the flooding and the change of weather?
I don't know if they'd be able to build them that fast like that. I think they were.
Well, let's just imagine that you have like this astronomer dude.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, every year I see this meteor.
Yeah.
And it's on this arc. And in 5 years.
Yeah.
15 years. And then he goes to 10. And then it's 5 years. And he's like, dude, it's coming. And then a year from now. So like maybe like some of those people that were astronomers were like got convinced people to do something. I don't know if it's out there. I think that like maybe it was more of a battery, the pyramids.
Yeah. Last week when I said, of course that wasn't on the podcast. It was he had asked me what were pyramids, what do I think the pyramids were used for? Like what would that be? And like one thing that I remember seeing on YouTube, and this was probably like the bowels of YouTube, so nothing super duper official, but there's different parts of the pyramid that are made of different rock. It's not all just made of sandstone and limestone. There's different kinds of red granite, yellow granite, basalt in certain specific areas. And when those certain specific rocks are mixed with different types of chemicals like vinegars and acids and like this proper mix, it conducts electricity. And I was thinking like, okay, there was this one thing that I saw that said that like maybe they were used as a battery. Maybe that all these chambers were filled, like the king's chambers and the queen's chambers were all filled, and these tubes all ran to each other. That's why they find these different tunnels in them, because they're not really tunnels. They're like fucking 45 degrees that like come out. Like you're not getting through that. It's not an access tunnel.
No,
it's not even really a vent. Yeah, like it's a place to pour the shit in, to keep up the fluids. Like that's, like, because they just run right into it. So why wouldn't you just have some things that you could climb up the side to, pour the new fluids in, and get the thing going? It's like a big generator.
Especially if we knew the tool they were using to pour it in. I bet we would, like, he's like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That I bet you would like
right. Well, because you just think of it as a massive scale battery, and the reason why they're aligned to the, to Orion, and like, the reason why that, like, if you took a straight line and drew it over all the biggest parts of the landmass on the world as it runs vertical, and the base parts of the landmass on the world as it runs horizontal, everything meets right in fucking Giza. Like, it's fucking weird. Like, the amount of math involved in Giza is crazy. Pyramid math is a whole nother thing you could lose yourself to for like 2 weeks. And how crazy and deep that shit gets. And
is there a chance that like after like this great flood, like you're just like, let's go to the place that like is the middle of Earth that can't be flooded?
Like Hollow Earth?
No, like not Hollow Earth. Like, no.
Justin's Hollow Earth thing.
Oh wow. No, like okay, like we get off this. Like man, it's been flooded. Like Earth is like waters rose. Our land is, like where do you want to go? Well, let's go find somewhere where it's like super dry. It's not gonna flood.
Yeah.
Let's go to land. And then you find yourself, in the heart, and that's the heart of where everything was. That's the math for you to do if you're smart enough.
Yeah.
Like is that where? I don't know if that's where it worked out for. Like,
no, I just think it was a part of the world that wasn't affected by flooding.
Okay.
In the same way.
Yeah,
because like sometimes the floods receded in certain areas, and in some areas it destroyed everything.
Yeah.
Because water displaced,
and I'm sure there's like storms that were created.
Yeah,
because of it, and, like,
water displaced shit went everywhere,
wind
man.
Blowing in certain directions.
I think a lot of what is gone, what we don't see, I think there's way more under the water, but or reclaimed by the earth, or completely destroyed, or like tumbled and rolled over and destroyed by whatever it is, and we're just seeing such small bits and pieces of this ancient society. I think it's like super small. Like there's only like maybe arguably 15 sites in the world, maybe 12 sites that show such great antiquity.
Yeah.
And so you're talking like fractionally like that, like nothing of this ancient world really survived. A lot of the landscape on everything was just completely devastated and destroyed. So like I couldn't even imagine the scope. You couldn't, because like if there were source maps that showed, parts of what could be South America and parts of what is an unfrozen Antarctica, like what? Like how could that be? Like how could, like in our lifetime, as far as we've known, those things have been frozen over for the last 15, 16,000 years. People have even quoted them as being frozen way longer than that. So how could you draw them green and then they're perfect? Like we've gone and checked them with our maps today, and they're like drawn well. Like where could you get that information from? Like you'd have to be a smart seafaring culture. You'd have to have
like boat down the coast.
Yeah.
And dock for when you needed to. But
like if you were able to like they're saying that Columbus was one of the first people to sail from Europe to the New World. Right? Like that's 1692, I guess, if we go by the rhyme. Like maybe you could argue the Vikings did it. You can't even argue, because we know the Vikings first got there in 1000 BC or something like that. So that's still only 1,000 years, and like there's stuff over there that's like ancient, like 12,000 years old, 13,000 years old, but we say we found it and like we discovered it, and they only date South American and North American ancestry to like 2000 BC. So there's just a lot of shit that doesn't add up, man.
No, when you start looking down the rabbit hole and looking for like actual evidence, like we could have a whole podcast on like one by one, like convincing the mass.
I mean, I could sit here and read you fucking chapters of Graham Hancock's book. Like we could cite it all day, because he cites one of the best parts and the worst parts about his books is that they read like high school history novels, like they're history textbooks. They're kind of fucking boring, but the stuff that he cites and the information there is like pretty legit.
Yeah, and he's giving you his opinion of something too, so he's sprinkling a little Graham Hancock in
there.
And that's right for him to do. He's a journalist. He's writing a book. That's his entertainment. As much as like, I mean, what's at the end of the day, what's going to change if he's right or wrong?
Nothing.
I mean, really, it's not going to make that big of a difference to anyone's day-to-day life.
No,
not anyone directly.
But it could.
No,
it could, because it becomes widely accepted, dude.
But then things would change. I don't think it would be as big a deal as not, because the history of humans, as far as like how we did our stuff, it happened. That's the way. That's not going to change that. But the whys, and like
the whys change everything. But like I think it changes everything. The foundation of this world, when like 70% of the people in this world are heavily religious,
of not having to like that our creator isn't from this timeline, that changes everything.
I mean, you're talking like so much of our world is deeply enthralled in like Abrahamic religion, and you want to go against like the only ones that could have even fathomed this, I think something like that would be the pagans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all dead. If they were close, they converted major parts of those religions to
and that's something we talk about
Christian religion,
Christians and
with no disrespect to anybody who's religious, but like the house of all of it rests upon the words of the people who came before us that we don't know. And if they're human, just as human as us, man, they're fucking liars and they make mistakes and they're good people and some of them are bad people. And like, we just think all the information ever given to us by people from 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago is exactly stone cold how it was. You got to be fucking kidding me. That's not even good common sense. Like, you know, at the end of the day,
you can't play the telephone game with like 5 adults.
No,
correct. So.
Right. And like, I'm all for believing what you want to believe in, but I'm just saying, if prehistory, the way I think of it, is true, and what a lot of the evidence is really starting to point to, and the reason why mainstream anything cannot acknowledge it is because it starts to slowly unravel.
That's Brendan in there.
Oh, nice. There's that. But it starts to slowly unravel the fabric of society, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool topic. Thinking anything with this prehistory is just like so.
It opens so many doors.
Yeah. And like, so when you take the prehistory into account, it's like all religions are based on that idea. But like, what if? I mean, that's a good place to start because I think we got the knowledge passed from one person to nothing. So whether it's textbooks or in text in some kind of, not textbooks necessarily.
But when science can outmatch what our predecessors have taught us, you know, like you're always supposed to improve upon what you're taught.
If I can teach you the science and math and certain things in that curriculum, well, we're just gonna go with it.
Curriculum.
Yeah, forward. And note pass that on. It's like, okay, that advances society faster.
Yeah.
But like okay, we got a boat. We gotta get the best, the strongest, the smartest people. You had this. This is where we get. All right, the guy that's like good at war.
Yeah.
The fighter, the save the day. He's gonna teach us all how to fight, and you know. Yeah. And then this person's, you know, I don't know, but you remember what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. Where I was like, if your civilization was about to go down, you're taking the smartest people, right? Okay. So like, you're gonna go for like, I will take one of everything. I'll take the best marine biologist. I'll take the best biochemist. I'll take the best, you know, whatever you are in your field. I'm going to take the 3 best guys who know the most about construction. I'm going to take the best carpenter, the best electrician. I'm going to take all the best tradespeople. I'm going to get one of the best of everything, maybe even 2. So that way humanity can be taught these things down the line. So so the world gets wiped out and all you have left is the 2 best of everything. And they go out down into the world and they try to reestablish population. Well, over time, that story, those people are going to be essentially gods.
Yeah.
They're going to hold all the information as population starts to reinvent itself. And what's going to happen to that story? You're going to start referring to a master electrician as the god of lightning, the god of electricity. Yeah. Like you're going to have, you know, the god of like, the biochemist is like the god of like, you know, earth and sound and like, you know, all these different things. Like something becomes Gaia, you know, like that these things can get easily twisted. Yeah, the god of agriculture. It was just like some dude who was a dope ass farmer. He's a fucking really hick. He's just a hick, but he had a green thumb.
I am Earth.
Yeah, like, and then he becomes the god of Earth. You know, like it's crazy shit. Like the god of fire is just some fucking arsonist.
Yeah,
who, you know,
god of war, god of know, and then just like,
god of war was Bradley Cooper in that sniper movie. You know, like
I think it's easy to paint a picture with the Greek gods. Because I think they're heavily in at least in the Michigan fundamental system. I had like 2 classes where I got to learn about Greek gods, and I'm not sure the benefit.
I was trying to think of the benefit. I was like, why would you spend so much time learning about Greek gods?
I don't know why I needed 2 classes in my high school days, but you know what? I liked any kind of history stuff.
That was the last shot at being you to be a pagan. That was it. Didn't you go to Catholic? You didn't go to Catholic school. Not after pre-K or kindergarten. Oh, okay. So yeah, you have
public for 1st through 12.
You seem like you have a public school education.
Oh, I definitely do.
I'm just fucking with you.
Yes, sir.
Me too, man.
But it's always fun getting on the prehistory thought because
I want to do another prehistory one where I'll just say flat out right now, it's hard having this conversation twice.
Yes,
it's not like. I wish
we're steering it back and forth.
Because like we're trying to like last week it flowed really hard and now we're misremembering and like, you know, it will be a bummer we lost that podcast. One, I'm fucking tired of shit and I'm fried right now, stoned. But I want to do one where if you have any questions, if what 1-2 people watch this, ask some questions about the prehistory stuff, and we'll just try to chit chat about them. But I think I want to come back into this topic maybe in a week or two, maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna give it some time. Maybe we're gonna start talking interviews here soon. So
we want to start bringing some friends on.
We're definitely gonna get one more prehistory podcast in.
Yeah, but I want to have everything written down, better subjects.
Yeah,
and within the prehistory thing, because we have now. This is a basic introduction on what we think about prehistory, where it's going. Let's break down some real facts for you. I want to give even for us,
dive deep. Help us. So we'll come at it, and I'm gonna come at it in a way that maybe can convince a couple people to join the prehistory club.
Yeah, man. I think it's something that's got a lot of merit.
I think it is a challenge, but I don't think we're going to do that next week. I think we're going to switch it up because that would be 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, we can't do that. We can't have a 4-minute video and then a 48-minute video about prehistory. But yeah, we want to start interviewing. Any you got any thoughts? We don't have to say any names, but
yeah, I guess I'm excited. I think the first 3 are real 1, 2, 3 layups, and I think 10, 11, 12 or 11, 12, 13 episodes we'll do those. But it doesn't have to be back to back. We might we'll fill it out.
Mix it up.
I think it's always going to be different having a third person. Definitely.
I know we're going to be interviewing somebody this time, so it means we get to have I don't know. We get to
more prepared. A topic that is that they know the answers to that I don't.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing too. We're on a quest. As always, we try to be on a quest for knowledge. We like to learn new things. I don't know. I like to learn new things.
I'm trying to take over the world like Pinky.
So. Yeah, man. And he had a big ass brain. Yeah, I was like Brain.
Yeah. Cool.
That's a funny name, Brain.
Yeah.
Smurf. Anyway,
so show growing up when you got not a whole lot to choose from.
Animaniacs was the shit though.
Yeah.
That was a good show. But yeah, we had only 20 shows to watch. There's so many.
Yeah, now you have you can
network on network.
Well, you can just choose your show. We couldn't do that. There was a selection and you had to go through each channel, click.
It's a pretty fair point.
Click. Okay, so
we're the weirdest. We're gonna be the weirdest millennials. We're the ones that's the last glimpse of the old country.
Yeah. I had my porn had to download at one point.
Oh my god. My porn had to be pictures sent to me by a friend.
Oh, well, I think that's just you had a phone then.
No, on the internet, in a shitty JPEG, downloaded through FrostWire.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Not really sent, downloaded.
But I remember the sound.
Yeah,
I definitely know.
Did you ever watch the fuzzy screen? You're looking for.
The squiggle vision.
Yeah, squiggle vision.
Yeah,
that was a good time.
Yeah, it was puberty. It was a good time. Yeah, it was a great time.
Jesus,
I don't know. Puberty, maybe the year after puberty. I don't necessarily remember puberty as a bad thing, but I definitely didn't. I don't remember it as man, my voice is cracking.
I never had that moment. I think my voice has always sounded like a nerd's.
Oh yeah, I remember it was oh, I got a deeper voice.
Yeah,
it didn't just happen.
I sneezed and had a beard when I was 18. I went from no beard at all to full beard.
I was baby face as long as I could.
Yeah,
and my son
you got a solid beard now.
My son was born. I always had this beard.
Oh, you just shaved all the time?
Yeah.
Wow, you were that clean shaven for that many years. Wow, that's dedication.
I had maybe not as thick as this one because I grew it out so that way in a way that I could have it thicker.
Yeah,
but if I didn't do that, I could even still have a big. It'd be fuzzy. That's to be untamed. I was I didn't like it.
Yeah,
I didn't like the way it looked after I shaved it. That was the big thing.
You look mature,
but I like the beard, and for my job, it's fitting.
Yeah, working construction now, it's always good to have a beard.
Yeah, it doesn't
I can't wait to wear I'm so stoked to wear a tool belt in places. I'm just gonna see. I want to try it out. I'm just gonna walk around and just be smart. People be listening. Yeah, that's the thing. Shit, dude. Have you checked that for water damage? Do you even know what's going on in there?
You see that right there?
Do you understand that?
Keep an eye on that. You don't want to make sure that it doesn't go bad.
You understand that when water gets into something like that, it expands. And then it
yeah, that's what it is.
Are you fucking kidding me? It's do you know what happens when it freezes in the wintertime? Oh my god. Oh my god. Let's take a look at that. And it doesn't even mean anything. You say that about anything. I'm so excited to screw with people. All right, man.
Yeah, I think we're gonna sign off here. Where can you find us?
Dean Korp Podcast at gmail.com.
On YouTube at Dean and Korp Podcast, right? Is that how we have it?
It's on this
Dean Korp Podcast.
Yeah, Dean Korp Podcast. Just look us up.
All right,
man. And on Spotify.
Yeah, we're on Spotify.
And Spotify's Dean and Korp
wherever
Podcast.
Anchor hooks up, we're gonna look at that after tonight's show.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Happy Friday, Saturday morning.
We will catch you next Friday.
See ya.